rolling there. And we're rolling there. Okay, I don't know which audio we're going to use. It doesn't really matter. So, we are doing the first question. So, Faded City Lights, it was my debut single. It was the first song I ever released. And it's the opener of the album. It is track number 1 on the album. So obviously, it's an important song to me. It's an important song to the record. And it was kind of it's kind of reflective of where I was, how I looked at the world, how I approached the world. Really, it's about growing up. It's a song about growing up and where I grew up. Many of you know I was born and raised in Springfield, Ohio. I'm still there. And I'm really glad to be. I genuinely am. But it's kind of a love-hate relationship. Anyone who has lived in Springfield, I think you kind of understand what I mean. It's not always the easiest place to live. It's not got the best of reputations. I think it was like 2011, something like that. Gallup ran this national poll, and Springfield was either number 1 or like top 5 unhappiest towns in the country. I don't remember what their metrics or basis was for all that. I don't know if it was, job rate or overdoses or crime or just unhappiness, poverty levels, whatever it was. We were, at least reputationally, one of the saddest towns in America. And I was like 11, 12 years old when that came out. So I was growing up in a town that didn't have a great reputation. But I had to live with that, and I had to live through that. And it definitely shaped part of a lot of who I am now. If I had been growing up somewhere else, I would have been unspeakably different. I suppose that's true for everybody, but this song, Faded City Lights, is kind of about that. About growing up and growing up in Springfield. So I'm really looking forward to answering these particular questions. Full disclosure, I'm sitting in my bedroom by myself. I've written these questions out for myself. This is actually the 3rd take of me recording my answer to this. So it's not as off the cuff as it seems, but I'm still really looking forward to answering these questions, the writing and the recording process questions, because it was in many ways a nightmare. It was draining, it was very difficult, it was very challenging and frustrating, but at the same time, it was so much fun. It was a total blast putting these songs together. And I'm looking forward to telling you about it a little bit. I could talk about this forever and ever, and you might see me try to. So the writing process of Faded City Lights. This was one of the earlier songs that I wrote for the album. This was probably the 2nd or 3rd song that I wrote, which makes it the 2nd or 3rd song that I ever wrote. I actually put this one together mostly on the acoustic guitar. I had an acoustic guitar that I got for Christmas, when I was like 15, and it sat in the corner for a long time. Finally got it out. Said, I'm gonna write a song on this guitar. And I've been playing covers, whatever, but this song is very wordy. Faded City Lights has a ton of words, but I wrote a lot more than I used. If you look at my notes for this song, pages and pages and pages of stanzas and lines and rhymes, and it's just stuff that never made the song, never made the final cut. I had to make some very difficult decisions. I had some lines that I really enjoyed, that I had to just say, nah, it's not gonna make it in there. Um, when I first finished it, I was like, this is pretty corny. This is a pretty corny song. And yes, it's true. I tried to fix it a little bit, but I never really did. It's a very, yeah. But I think it's honest in that sense. It's a song about growing up, and growing up, I was kind of a naive guy. I still am. I like to try to be optimistic. I like to try to be, things are looking up. It's gonna be a great day. We're gonna figure it out. And that's kind of how the song feels. Um, yeah, when I first finished the song, I was kind of unsure. There were times I didn't like the song at all. I thought about scrapping it. But it grew on me, especially as we recorded it, and it kind of came to life with the drums and the bass and the harmonica and the organ. I'll get to that later. But yeah, when I first finished writing the song, I was pretty unsure. I had a band, kind of, at the time. We never made it out of my mother's basement, but we had a band, and I showed them the song, and we kind of learned the song, and got kind of a lukewarm response. They were like, "Yeah, it's okay," and I kind of thought the same thing. But uh, yeah, it just stuck around, and we kept working on it. I kept working on it, and I ended up with something I was at least at this point I'm pretty pleased with. It came out better than I thought it was going to when I finished writing. This song has more contributing artists on it than any of the other songs on the whole album. It's got three. Uh, Mark Stickford does the harmonica solo. Taylor McFarlane does the trumpets, all six of them, and David Wilson is on the acoustic guitar. Um, so, like I said before, I had a band in my mother's basement, and we were trying to figure out this song. And we would get to the instrumental section. I'd have Mark Stickford do his harmonica solo. I had the harmonica solo in my mind from the minute I had finished writing the song. I said, I want this really cool harmonica solo in there. And I think it turned out well. I love what Mark did on the harmonica there. It's one of my favorite parts of the song. Um, but we would get to this part, and in the studio cut, you can hear me kind of say, bum, bum, bum. And what that is, when we were playing it as a band for the first few times, we would get to this instrumental section, and you linger on that C chord for a little longer than you normally do. And I would call that out so that the guys wouldn't miss it. We'd be playing, I go, say, let them know. There's this little pause coming up, stay on that C chord. And I started calling it out so much that the guys in the band started just mocking me or whatever. They would do it too, to the point where even when I wouldn't do it, they were also doing it. And the guys in that original band, David Wilson, Mark Stickford, were in there, and they ended up on the studio cut. Um, they would tell me like, it just doesn't sound right if you don't have that little C thing in there. So I said, all right, we'll put it in. And I do it even now when we play live. I do it, and that was a good time. I really wanted to have Mark and David on there because they were in that original band, and that it just felt right. But Taylor McFarlane on the trumpet, I wrote that trumpet part. It's not super complicated, but there's 6 lines, and then he came over on a Sunday, and we were standing here in my bedroom, and I held a microphone up to his trumpet, and he played 6 different lines. And then I plugged it into my computer, and I spliced them all together, and we brought it to the studio. Yeah, that was recorded in my bedroom. Actually, Mark's harmonica was recorded at the bedroom in his house. So a lot of this was studio, but not all of it. This one was fun to record. this one was one of the lyric videos that I always knew what I wanted this one to be. Um, it's about growing up in Springfield, so I I gave you a tour of the town. I showed you all the spots in Springfield that I used to and still do go to hang out at, and that I always appreciated about the town. Um, and some little hidden gems that I think a lot of people don't realize are there. Um, and it just worked out. It was a nice, bright, sunny day. The kind of day I always have pictured in my mind when I think of my childhood. These nice, blue sky, sunny days. And I always knew I wanted that drone footage at the end. This grand, sweeping look at the skyline of the town. So the way I got that, I just happened to be working at Station 8, Springfield's Fire Station 8. I was on the medic with a man named Malachi. He's like a year younger than me, and he was flying drones. He started flying drones for the fire department, and I was just kind of like, what do I got to do to get some footage off of you, man? And he's a very like, let's go do it kind of guy. So he said, let's go do it. So this was, it was in July, I think. And, you know, the sun doesn't go down until like 10 p.m. So we got in the ambulance, we put his drones into the ambulance, and we drove into the center of downtown. We're still in service, we got our radios on. If a call comes in, we would have taken it. But he flew the drones around, and I was looking over his shoulder like, yeah, go over there and do that. Oh, that looks great. That was perfect. Yeah, he knocked it out of the park, and I was very happy about that. We both did get a little bit of a talking to from the Chiefs, because I posted some social media content in uniform, and that's kind of a no-no. But I think it was worth it. Well, I had said earlier, this song has more featured artists on it than any other track on the album. It's got 3 featured artists. It's the only one with, no, I was going to say it was the only one with the trumpet on it. It's the only one with multiple trumpets on it, though. And it's the only one with a harmonica. I think in the masters, there's 4 different organs involved. I think there were 4 organs being played in the tracks of this song. But that's all in the instrumentation. This is a very, like I said, this is a very optimistic, very bright, happy song. And it's kind of a bright, optimistic kind of album, I suppose. And this song, one of the reasons it's the lead single, it's the first track, is because it kind of exemplifies the attitude of the record in a lot of ways. This one's kind of, in a certain way, it's kind of the core of the album. So I think there's bits and pieces of the ideas of Faded City Lights spread throughout the album.